So we have a ton of ground that I'd like to cover. We could make this all about all the aspects of Walmart, but you're at a tech conference, so let's talk about your digital strategy. You've been CEO for 5 years now, and this digital strategy is very important to you. You talk about it a lot. Give everybody the top level, if you would.
Yeah, I think the top level starts with what have we learned, and in Walmart, there have been times in our history when we've led from a technology point of view. We were pioneers as it relates to what we called Retail Link, where we opened up a bunch of data to suppliers. We were pioneers as it relates to self-distribution when the company started. We pioneered communication in some ways with satellite communication to stay in contact with stores back in the day. But as time goes on, for a number of reasons, you can fall behind and not be as creative and innovative as we must be. So the headline learning is probably related to way of working as much as kind of the traditional tech stack and legacy systems and overcoming all of those things, which we are in the process of trying to do. It's more about moving to agile, learning how to be more responsive to customers, and creating a platform that you can operate on top of with speed.
And I know a little bit of the history that you were talking about. I don't think people today appreciate that Walmart, in its formative years under Sam Walton, was a technology leader with satellite communications when nobody else was doing it. You talk about the technology stack, but you also decided that you weren't where you needed to be on e-commerce itself. You're the biggest retailer, but you're not the biggest e-retailer, if you will. And you've been trying to, I don't know if you want to use the word catch up, so I'll ask you that.
Yeah, sure. Obviously, brick and mortar stores are one thing. E-commerce in some ways started out, I think, feeling like an independent channel or an independent business. And yeah, we fell behind and have been playing catch up and have been doing a number of things to accelerate that progress and learning along the way and getting better as it relates to the customer experience. But what we really learned in recent times is that these things come together in a really interesting way that is helpful and in some ways to our advantage in this omnichannel world, as many people call it. And so today we're very focused on creating a seamless customer experience for the Walmart brand, bringing the stores and e-commerce together in the best of them. And stores have some advantages, and we're trying to make the most of those and then catch up in e-commerce and get better with the customer experience and then put them together in a way that's unique and that customers will find not only saves them money and time, but creates the optimal experience.
Now, when you talk about catching up, most people understand that the leader is Amazon, so you're catching up to Amazon. What do they do that you admire and would like to be as good at them at? And what do you do that you think is better than what Amazon does in e-commerce, in digital?
Yeah, well, let's just talk about maybe e-commerce broadly and tech companies in general in addition to Amazon. I think we admire customer centricity, we admire innovation, creativity, and we admire speed. And when this question gets asked, I always remember this story about Sam Walton and Don Soderquist, our former vice chairman, going out to visit stores many years ago, and they went into a Gibson's discount store. And the story goes that the store didn't look very good. It wasn't as clean and neat as it should have been. There were out of stocks, there were other issues. And when they walked out of the store, Sam turned to Don and said, "What did you see?" And Don said, "Well, the store had room to improve. This wasn't good. This wasn't right. This could have been better. What did you see, Sam?" And Sam said, "Did you see the pantyhose rack? It was awesome." Like, that was the best pantyhose rack I have ever seen. It conveyed the merchandise and the price. It was organized. It was in stock. Like, Sam found the one thing in that competitive store that we needed to adopt and make Walmart better. So culturally, that story represents how we think about competition. We're not proud, we're not egotistical. If somebody's doing something better than we are, let's copy and paste what we should and can. And in the case of Amazon and others, clearly customers are responding to convenience. Everybody loves saving time and something that's easy. So if you break down retail into price or value, assortment of products and services, which has been redefined, and then the experience, which is a combination of digital and physical, it's a combination of technology and people, across all those dimensions, we want to delight. So I think what we've got to learn is how to adjust our pace, our way of working inside the company, which is actually probably, at the end of the day, the most interesting thing that's happening in Walmart is how we're changing inside so that what you see on the outside delivers more value, matches up from an assortment and service point of view, and experientially is everything that our customers expect from us, and more, hopefully.
I don't know how this is going to sound when I read it back, but if I'm hearing you correctly, Sam Walton's pantyhose then is your speed at Amazon. You admire their speed.
Speed, innovation, customer centricity.
Okay, thank you for the chuckle. I didn't know. So one of the things that you've stressed over time, that one of Walmart's strengths in e-commerce are your stores itself. Mm-hmm. I read a stat that Amazon has 110 fulfillment centers and that Walmart has about 20 fulfillment centers for e-commerce. First of all, is that 20 figure about right? And the point is, they have a much better distribution network than you do because of the SKUs they can have in the distribution centers versus what you can have in your stores. Is that an insurmountable competitive advantage?
What I can explain is what's going on with our supply chain, and you can try to answer the relative comparison. We've got well over 100 distribution centers and fulfillment centers, but they do all kinds of different things. E-commerce dedicated fulfillment centers add up to about 20, but don't forget about all the grocery distribution centers, apparel distribution centers, import centers all over the country. That already service stores and can be adjusted to do other things. That's one of the interesting levers that we have is how do you change inside those buildings? What automation do you put in place? How do you create omni-channel hybrid? And then there's the stores. And one of the realities of fresh and perishable food is that if you don't sell it, you throw it away or give it away. It can't persist. So when you have a store environment and you have fresh and perishable food so close to people, in our case, within 10 miles, we cover 90% of America's demand. Within 5 miles, 70%. Those stores then become hybrids. They become dual store and pick centers. And we started in the UK many years ago picking orders for delivery. And we started here in the US a few years ago taking those processes and cutting them and pasting them and putting them into the US and helping our stores learn how to pick grocery orders. And we've expanded that now to over 2,500 stores around the country that not only work on in-stock for in-store volume, but they drive in-stock for pickup business and now delivery business, which by the end of this year will cover about 60% of the US with delivery, because once you know how to pick an order in a store efficiently, it then enables delivery to happen from that store to cover the last mile and get to someone's home. So those stores function in that way, and that's an advantage for us. They're profitable pick centers that can do a lot of different things as it relates to receiving merchandise over time and helping those goods ride that last mile into the home. In parallel, we're learning how to pick the rest of the supercenter. So an average store, in the example of Walmart Supercenter, has got about 120,000 SKUs in it, and we can pick and deliver all of those using our last mile capability for grocery delivery. So you can order back to school merchandise, you can order apparel, you can order more of that assortment than just food. That's something we're working on now.
Good. So not quite 3 years ago, you paid a little over $3 billion for Jet.com. You recently announced you're integrating that operation into all of U.S. e-commerce for Walmart. Jason Del Rey of Recode had an interesting piece recently suggesting there's tension between Walmart e-commerce and Jet.com. Is there tension, and can you address how that business is from your perspective? The article also said that you were dissatisfied with that business.
Do you guys feel tension right now in any way? Okay.
You don't exude tension.
Maybe I'm not the only one.
For the record, yeah.
Yeah, so let me try to answer this way. We had a healthy stores business that we were investing in to improve. We had an e-commerce business, but we wanted to get more aggressive. And when we met Mark and we saw Jet, we saw an opportunity to accelerate.
This is Mark Lore, the founder and CEO of that business.
So if you ask me right now, would you do that all over again? 100% of the time, absolutely. And day one, we gave Mark responsibility along with his team, many members of the Jet team, responsibility for all of US e-commerce. So Mark joins Walmart, and he's been building and investing Jet.com to grow it. And he sees Walmart.com's size, which was much larger than Jet at the time. It was really funny. When we bought Jet, people said, Walmart's in the e-commerce business. Mm-hmm. And Jet was doing less than $1 billion, and we were already doing a really large number in Walmart, but it immediately caused people to think about us differently. So Mark comes in and he looks at Walmart.com and he says, wow, the cost to acquire a customer here, the CAC, is much lower than Jet because Walmart's so well known, et cetera. And Mark and I had decided before the acquisition that we were going to focus Jet on more urban, more millennial, higher income. Well, even today, that's still the strategy. So Jet carries items that aren't currently on Walmart.com, and Jet resonates in New York and can resonate in other urban markets. So a continuation of that has continued. That's double, isn't it? So anyway, Mark's running all of e-commerce. He's looking at Walmart, Jet, all the other brands that we built or acquired, and running the whole thing with a common back end more than we used to in the past. And the debates that come to my desk are related to which investments, how big, what's the prioritization, do you invest in stores, do you invest in e-commerce? And as I read articles like that, it's interesting to me how things are frequently positioned as or in a world that almost always to us looks like and. So will you invest in associate wages or e-commerce? And both. Will we invest in prices, lower prices at store level, or fulfillment capabilities to support e-commerce? The answer is and. So we are constantly debating and working through what sequence do we do these things in and how much do we invest. We'll be doing it again this week because strategy is so fluid these days. We're constantly trying to calibrate that. So, no big news there that those debates occur, but we actually do like each other. That wasn't in the article, that we still get along and like each other and loving what we're doing.
Walmart overall and its e-commerce people like each other is what you're saying?
We as people, like individuals, we still like each other.
Understood. International is way too big a topic at Walmart to cover with the time that we have left, so I want to focus on India, where you made a very large investment last year, $16 billion in Flipkart. Your timing wasn't great in the sense that the Modi government very shortly after that instituted a very restrictive policy on foreign owners of e-commerce. Now, I confess I don't understand what it is that the Indian government did, but I understand that it wasn't particularly good for Walmart. Can you address that?
Sure. We've been in India for a long time. We have a sourcing relationship there. We operate cash and carry units there. And so we're familiar with the market. We're familiar with how government decisions get made, and are really excited about the Flipkart investment, which includes a number of different businesses, including PhonePe, which is a payment platform. And what happened is that the government is trying to stress the importance of running these businesses as marketplaces, whether it's ours or it's someone else's. So what they are really trying to do is to create opportunity for everyone. They want small shopkeepers, kiranas, they want farmers, they want all these stakeholder groups to do well, and they want platform businesses to enable that. So that's what the adjustment was related to. Where it gets complicated is what's the legal entity structure? Where does inventory change hands? Part of the business that we bought includes a fulfillment logistics company that helps with delivery, which is a huge challenge given the infrastructure in India. So we'll just work through those things. We're engaged with the government, thinking about what policy should look like as we have the same goal, which is to help create a stronger India. For us as a company, it presents a tremendous opportunity, and we're really excited to be there and excited with how things have gone so far.
Are you concerned that the policy diminishes the value of your investment?
Yeah, it could. Thus far, not overly concerned about that. The growth potential there is so enormous, and the assets of Flipkart are broad enough that there's still plenty of upside for the company.
I want to take your questions as quickly as possible. I see one right here. If you could just wait for the mic to come to you. Stand up and identify yourself, if you would, please.
Hi, I'm Danny Cushion with Cardlytics. In a world that is going more and more omni-channel, and thinking about it from an omni-customer perspective, if you have folks spending both in-store and online, they're spending more. How do you make sure what you're doing is additive and not cannibalizing one or the other?
Great question. To some extent, we need to minimize how much we think about cannibalization in our minds and not over-index that direction. As we've launched a grocery pickup business and started to work on delivery, enough of those relationships are new that we're going to lean into those. And we kind of have a history as a company of doing those kinds of things, like opening a super center close to another super center that cannibalizes those sales, but in total ends up generating return for shareholders. So we're confident that investing in these new ways of serving customers will cause what we've seen so far to continue, which is, as you said, when a customer shops both in stores and online, they spend about twice as much, and they shop more often in stores. So the original concern was, what are you going to experience from a store cannibalization point of view? And we're not seeing that, which is one of the reasons why we're pressing forward to do grocery delivery all the way into the home. We're going to, in October, go to Pittsburgh, Vero Beach, Florida, Kansas City, and enable people to, for a membership fee, get us to deliver all the way into their refrigerator or into their pantry and put their groceries away. And there'll be some percentage of people that'll want to do that. There'll be some percentage of people that say, you can come to my refrigerator in my garage, but don't come all the way in the house. There'll be some people that say, I want another form of unattended delivery, which we'll figure out. And then there's traditional delivery, pickup, and the stores. And we just offer that whole continuum, thinking if they're in the Walmart brand, we will figure out how to monetize that relationship in a way that's healthy.
And the notion of trust, I think, is going to be a topic throughout the next 3 days, so that's so interesting. Please.
Hi, I'm Wesley Chen from Felicis Ventures. I saw a while back you guys announced that you are providing a fully paid free college degree for all of your associates, and I just noticed that Amazon sort of followed suit from you guys. I was wondering what drove that decision, sort of how it's going, and then what you guys expect to have next.
Yeah, thanks. We're really excited about it. Rachel may be here. We're in partnership with Guild Education, which University of Florida and a number of other universities are helping us provide this offer to our associates. It's $1 a day in education, and we are really excited about the fact we just recently announced the addition of 14 new technology degrees to that offer and extended some benefits to high school students so that they can get a running start into college working at Walmart and taking advantage of the same benefit. In our minds, it fits into a continuum. We've raised our starting wage rates in the US by 50% in the last 4 years. Our associates get a cash bonus that last year enabled the associates collectively to earn over $750 million in cash bonuses. We've created a more enhanced parental leave policy. People can get 16 weeks paid leave if they're a birth mom. We've just been layering on these changes and stretching it into academies that we've opened around the country. We've got 200 different academies that our associates come to learn new skills, retail skills, but also skills like how to be a good coach and how to have empathy, soft skills in addition to hard retail skills. And so we see that educational benefit as just being another part of that continuum, with the goal being that we drive up retention, we prepare people for the future of work. We employ 2.2 million people around the world, 1.6 million of those people work here in the US. We want them to have great jobs in the future. In fact, we want them to have careers. 75% of our store management started in hourly ranks. We're trying to build tomorrow's store manager, build tomorrow's CEO as we design this system. And so we're trying to put all those pieces together in that way so that that's the outcome that we get.
It's a staggering number, 2.2 million employees. Right here, please.
Yeah, Rick Chavey with Enerworks. Doug, curious about how important robotics is in terms of that inventory accuracy and picking that you're talking about, and also is there a play in terms of online to offline convergence where I'm shopping at home and I know that it's in stock so I don't go to the store, kind of how that plays in terms of the robotic.
Yeah, very exciting to think about what the future of inventory management is going to look like. And we're starting to see pieces of it come to life now with some enhanced automation in DCs that we have in test and pilot, and also the Internet of Things is starting to happen at store level. Our jobs are kind of, they're comprised of tasks. So if you're a department manager in a Walmart store, you may have 16 different tasks that you're responsible for. Automation can take on some of those tasks, which basically enables us to rebundle jobs and to let sales associates do the things that we as people are best at doing and getting us in front of the customer more. So we're starting to put in technology that includes a shelf scanner that runs up and down the aisle to ensure accuracy, a floor cleaner that goes up and down the action alleys, cleaning the floor with a camera on it, looking at what we have featured, a piece of technology in the back room we call the fast unloader that's got cameras on it, so when freight's coming off the trailer in the back room, you know what goes straight to the floor, what needs to get saved for a seasonal event, and then those devices talking to each other, bringing that Internet of Things to life and connecting back into the supply chain so that our data improves, in-stock goes up, inventory turn goes up. And what's happening now is that we're starting to put pieces in place and scale some of them, trying to design this overall system, which our associates love. The worst thing about working in a store, and I was assistant manager in the store, is having to touch freight twice. If you take it out, if you go to the back room and you find it and you get it out to the sales floor and we just don't quite have room for it and it doesn't fit above and it's just awful because the stores are so big taking it to the back. When you start to touch things one time, everybody's happier, costs are lower, and you can pass it on to customers.
I'm really glad you mentioned the autonomous floor cleaner with the camera, because you went by it very quickly, and we need to look into that more because it's fascinating. When we sat down, Doug, I neglected to mention that in the 5 years you've been CEO, the stock price of Walmart is up 86% versus about 50% for the market. The Walton family has to be pleased about that, given their ownership in the company. A lot of people in this room have venture capitalists as their controlling shareholders, some public companies with no family controlling shareholders. Would you talk for just a moment about your relationship with the Walton family and the role they play with you as controlling owners of the company?
Yeah, hard to emphasize this enough. It's super helpful. And it's the family's connection to the associates of Walmart, not just the leadership of Walmart, and they're caring about culture and sustainability and the long-term health of the company. Make no mistake, Walmart is a public company. We have an investment community. We are held accountable to quarterly results like everybody else. But with our board and the family in particular, you get the opportunity to create some balance and have a long-term view, not just a short-term view. So like in our case, we decided a few years ago that we needed to make a number of investments in parallel. And one of the big ones was a wage investment. And we moved our starting wage rate, this is a few years back now, to $9 and then to $10, and made other adjustments to compensation that put a lot of pressure on our expenses and profitability in the short term. We lost $21 billion in market cap in one day. That was not a very pleasant experience. I'll remember it forever. I can kind of tell you what happened hour by hour during the course of that day still now. But knowing that the board and the management team understood we're going to make these investments, we know how they're going to pay off, we know this is right for the business, and do it and live through that, and then show that it actually was, those were a good set of decisions, is the way I'd like to run things. And having the support of the family and the board is vital in being able to do that.
You've got a lot on your plate, and we're super appreciative you came and spent time with us today.
Thanks.
Thank you, Doug.
Good to see you. Thank you.